Do you think the 60/40, let's say stock real estate portfolio is going to be the new 60/40 stock versus bond? Because the bond market has blown up the last 2 years. And I mean, I'm shocked. Can you tell me why? I know a lot of international companies pour their money out of our bonds, but I never thought obviously the bond market collapsed this fast. Do you think that 60/40 real estate and stocks will be the new replacement for the next 20 or 30 years?
Real estate is one of those finite resources as well. So as much as everybody would love to own some, it's very hard to own real estate in desirable places where you believe the value is going to go up. Now, I'm obsessed with these like government land watch foreclosure auction things that come across the internet all the time.
Yeah.
And I get a newsletter and it's trying to sell me property in places that it's just not viable. So you could be like buy a bunch of houses in Arizona. I don't want to pick on Arizona. I'm from New Mexico, but there might not be any water there in 20 years. So that's not such a great idea, right? Or you see these houses for sale in Queens by the bay. They may not be there in 20 years. I'm sorry. We've already had Sandy. We've seen what happens when the water rises. Miami, right? Everybody wants to live in Florida until you live in Florida, right? But Miami is having its own problems. So it depends on where you're buying, what you're buying. Now, if you follow the smartest money in the world in real estate, it's Blackstone, right? Steve Schwartzman donated the public library, multi-billionaire. What is he buying? Warehouses. Where is he buying them? Everywhere he can. Why? What do we use warehouses for? Data storage and Amazon storage. When you drive on the highway, what do you see? Amazon trucks. When we're doing this, what's going on? Data storage, right? So smart real estate is buying things that they can use, not just buying houses in college towns, which isn't a bad thing to do either, but you got to think about where you're buying and what you're buying.
Caleb, I wonder from an investment standpoint and from a professional standpoint, the landscape for what you do, your thoughts on OpenAI and ChatGPT, as far as finding companies that are leading the advancement in it, and putting money behind it, because it's not going anywhere, and it definitely would be part of the future. So what are your thoughts around it?
Yeah. It's one of those things that ChatGPT in general kind of scares me. It's either going to be the worst thing that ever happened to Investopedia or the best thing that ever happened to Investopedia. And I'm going to believe that it's going to be the best thing. Why? Because even though it's really smart and it could tell you what is PE ratio or what is compounding or how to invest $10,000, there's nothing like the personal touch. Rashad, you're an advisor. You know what that's like. The relationship is everything. And there's a way to speak to people that it will never be able to do. And there's brand authenticity. We've been around 23 years. Hopefully we'll be around another 23 years. So it scares me. That said, it's also one of those things that I know it's important. I know it's going to help a lot of industries, healthcare, education, finance. I think it's going to be very useful in all those industries. But you guys know this well. In every era and every few months, there is a new thing. And if you change your company name, like Block to Square or Square to Block, or it used to be cannabis, or it used to be crypto, if you put AI in your name right now, your stock's going up 10, 20%. There's a hype around it as well. We haven't exactly seen the practical applications that will be widespread and change markets forever, but they're coming. I just read something by Bill Gates, of all people, on his Medium blog about why he thinks it's so important. I learned a ton of things I didn't know.
So we had some other stuff that we was going to talk about, but Ian, I think let's talk about those topics. Let's talk about the same topics, but let's have. If you want to stay on, you want to stay on, Caleb?
I'd love to. If you're having me, I'm sorry for dominating the convo.
No, I love it.
So now we'll just go back to the regular format, and then we'll just have everybody chime in, including yourself. So TikTok's current CEO was grilled by Congress last week. Based on his commentary. Is it time for America to ban TikTok, or did he make a case that the app is safe? So TikTok is under fire. It has been under fire for a long time. What is the current? What's you guys' thoughts on what happened and the future of TikTok?
I don't think that the CEO did an amazing job of giving the lawmakers feeling of safety. I don't think he came off as a threat. But when the grilling was over, at scale, I don't think anyone came to a conclusion of, okay, we can trust him, we can trust this company. Here are the things that they're going to do to mitigate any espionage fear that we may have, like a Red Dawn kind of event. I think a little bit of the things they are worried about are being done by American companies at scale. I think that a big tech company may be pushing lobbyists too to push some of these narratives. How do you guys? I'll be there in like 3 weeks. But even though they've been demonized, he didn't do a good enough job to make even American parents be like, "Hey, I'm going to protect your children." But here's the funny part. After that, I saw more kids be excited about TikTok and say, "I'm not going to use Instagram as much as a result, or it's not going to make me use Instagram more." So I think was really a stalemate. I don't think will eventually ban it, even though that's a great talking point. But he didn't do a great enough job to convince us that he was not a threat to our democracy.
I agree with you. I don't think he made a case that the app is safe, right? So what's the issue? The issue is saying that TikTok is threatening national security and user privacy and can promote pro-Beijing propaganda and misinformation. That's the case, right? His defense was no. He says that the company, which they're saying that they have all the storage and all the data, is actually going to be stored in a U.S. user database that is maintained by the giant software company named Oracle, American-based, right? The other part, which is interesting, is that during this 5-hour grilling, he brought up some pretty big investors that are a part of the TikTok investment group that you may have heard of: BlackRock and Sequoia Capital. Wow. And so it's like when your back's against the wall and the American government is coming after you, let's remind them who's invested in this company. And so they reached out to BlackRock and obviously Sequoia Capital and KKR. Nobody had a comment. So do I think he made a case to show that it was safe? No. But he also put out a reminder, hey, these American companies are also part of this. The other part with that I found, this is like the #1 deleted app. You know what the #1 deleted app is right now?
Gotta be Facebook.
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Facebook.
Interestingly enough, most people, when they ask what is the app that they want to delete, it's Instagram. And so it goes into that level of defiance. What we can't do, we want to do more. And so it makes sense why kids would want to be on something that they're saying that their parents or the older folk are saying you shouldn't use. No, this is ours. It treated like it was the same way when Facebook came out. It was like, oh, this is for us. Your parents aren't allowed to be here. So it's interesting. Do I think he made his case? No. Do I think it will be banned? I'm going to monitor it closely. It's interesting. It's especially tough with government. When we were talking about bipartisanship, there's some things that they're never going to agree on. But it felt for that 5 hours that this is a topic that everybody's on the same page with.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And I think what we also learned is how little lawmakers understand modern technology.
Yes,
oh my God. Like that part.
That was crazy. But that said, remember, I'm dating myself, but Napster, right? That was against the industry, and the industry railed against Napster. But Napster found its way, into the people that really wanted it, and then it spun off all these other things that became the way we stream music. Ultimately,
it became Apple Music and Spotify. Yeah,
exactly. So it's one of those things that may go under, but it's going to come back as something else because people that like it and people that use it and creators and tech enthusiasts and really smart people know their way around this. So even if it gets banned, people are going to use it, right? And then it's going to come up as something else, and it's going to be probably even more dangerous. But he didn't convince anybody, and not that anybody would ever believe, even if he said to our faces, "No, your data is 100% safe. We're not doing anything with it." Of course they are.
Yeah.
I think TikTok is. I don't believe in TikTok. I don't believe.
Why though?
I don't believe it's as strong as it's made out to be. As far as the eye test is not. I have a very good pulse on pop culture, current events, and I'm not convinced with TikTok. But social media I think social media as a whole is kind of falling apart. You can you can buy blue checks on Instagram now. You can buy blue checks on
which is smart for the business.
It's bad for the brand. Exclusivity is always a major part of any marketing campaign and any type of, you want to be in a club that nobody else is in. It's bad for the brand. I think you can't reach your full audience. That's always been an issue. The algorithm, it's so much nonsense. It'll be interesting to see what the next iteration of social communication will be. Maybe it's something with ChatGPT, maybe it's something with AI. I think that it definitely will be in that. And I think it's actually smart that Meta at least is trying to try to be the forefront. I don't know if they will capture that audience or not, but I think social media, it doesn't have too many days left. When I say days, I mean like years. Like, you know, they're not going to fall apart tomorrow, but I think it's on its downward.
It's on decline.
Yeah, it's too much nonsense happening on social media, period.
I got teenagers and for them, it's Snap all day long.
Yeah,
all day, every day.
kids is communicating on Snap. My son doesn't even send regular text messages, a Snap group chat. So Snapchat is still very viable as far as the communication. It's scattered. It's all scattered. They're using Snapchat to communicate. They're using TikTok to find restaurants and recommendations and dances. And then people are on Instagram for their news and celebrity gossip. They're on Twitter. So they're just using different platforms for a variety of different reasons. So social media is in shambles. But we'll see what happens. But I'm just not a believer in the long-term viability of TikTok.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.